Hey everybody, Reef Girl here. Welcome to Reef Wrap-Up number 16. It has been a long time since my last update, and I have a lot to tell you. Some not so good. This is one of my 2 sea urchins. This is from the Caribbean. I'm not quite sure the species, but I think it's really pretty. So we've got this going on. I don't think it's cyano. It looks reddish on the camera, but to the naked eye it's brown, and when the lights are out it's green. I think it's algae. She's checking them out. Oh, hello little fella. The original mate for my female clownfish perished about a year ago, so I finally was able to pick up another one. She seems to be accepting him. Pretty pleased about that, but it's early days because they just got introduced about an hour ago. I'll keep you posted. And I also picked this up when I got the clownfish at Big Al's in Kitchener. It's a tiny squamosa. It's in here for observation. I decided to move my fox coral because I think it was getting too much light and flow, and I think I was right. Check it out. Oh, there's the blenny. Chunk. We call him Chunk. So yeah, it was the right decision to move this coral because, man, it is really expanding. So yeah, still have this stuff and it's getting worse. Part of me is starting to wonder whether there's a good measure of cyano mixed in here, especially given the green areas. Really not sure yet. If you've never happened to look at your reef tank, even with a flashlight, a few hours after the lights go off, do yourself a favor and check it out, because it always amazes me what the corals look like in the dark. This is when they eat. So what I often do is go to the fridge and get my bottle of liquid mysis from Aquaforest or Calanus, Arctopods, anything like that, and I just pour a little bit in directly into the flow, just to give them something to grab onto. So cool. Yep, nightly bubble scrubbing. I do this on both sides. On this lighted switch. And yes, it's jankety, but it really works. Yeah. And she has accepted him. They've been sleeping side by side at night, and he's eating like a little pig now. First day or so, I was a little concerned, but now he is just fine. The little guy is doing great. Look at all that cyan, oh my god. This tank is in terrible shape. Yeah, I have to do some major cleanup in here. However, we'll be moving the frags out very shortly. Here, look, shrimp molted. It's awesome. Okay, so now it's time to get the Duncan out of there. So here we go. No guarantees how this is going to go, because I gotta try and get my hands under it. Oh my goodness. There we go. Okay. Now look at this. A lot of dead heads. Probably because they were getting zero light under there. So it's not as big as I thought. I have the tank water. Oh, there's a hermit crab. I've had this coral for almost 8 years, and right in the middle there is the stem, or I guess the original branch of the original piece. I originally got it with 3 heads. The rest is new growth. It's been through several tank crashes, and I have to say I am pretty impressed with how hardy it has been. At this point, I'm trying to make some decisions that are impossible to make until you actually have the coral in your hand trying to put it in the rocks. One of the decisions is what points should rest on the rocks, because that's where I'm going to put putty. Another decision, how to orient it facing the light so that whatever heads were growing underneath without much light will now be able to grow better. It's pretty tricky. In the end, I figured this would work best. And yes, you are correct. This is an entire case of Epo Putty, my favorite epoxy. Check it out. We brought the Duncan up last night, mounted it in the tank, and here's how it looks the next morning. Love it. And here's a front view. I'm hoping that now there's enough light, those lower heads will grow and fill that entire space. This is my all for reef container that I had set up to dose the observation tank, and I can't remember how long this has been running. I want to say maybe 6 or 7 months. I'm taking it offline to replace the stuff because look at this. There is something pretty gross going on in there. I don't quite know what it is, but it's growing on the bottom. And I noticed that the pipette that I had in here to draw up the stuff was down into it. And it almost looked like the stuff was growing up into the bottom of the pipette. So yeah, I do not like this. And I think the answer is not to not use it, but to mix less of a quantity, because this is a 2-liter container and you can see I've used about half of it. So now I'm thinking I might just mix it up into maybe a liter, 750 milliliters, something like that, and just refill it more often because I'm wasting it anyway. If it's going to grow this stuff, I can't think that that's any good for the tank. So yeah, there's my update on All for Reef. Like the stuff, don't like what's happening here, so I'm going to try something different and see if I can avoid it going forward. Well, the time has come. Today we're going to be removing this whole pillar of rock because I want to keep the lower half to put in a new tank. The upper half doesn't have anything except that toadstool that has started to grow onto the rock. That's going to be removed as well, and hopefully we can break the rock structure apart so I can retain all of these Leptocerus, Leptastria, and the Lobophilia without too much damage. Yeah. Oh, she's a big one. Alright, there we go.
And where am I chopping? Like, am I laying this down?
It'd probably be easiest if you lay it down. Okay.
Crunch. Just crunch something.
Yeah, it's okay. Here, you want me to help you lift it up and slide it this way? Yeah, that's better.
Where am I chopping it?
You're chopping it essentially here, here, and somewhere in here, because those are live corals, those are live corals.
Start here?
Yep. Here, I'll hold this.
Watch your eyes.
Yep. No closing eyes.
That broke right off.
Oh, okay.
This whole thing.
That's fine.
No, I just tapped that.
Yeah?
And it the whole thing let go.
Ooh, okay.
Something just broke.
Now, how's the toadstool doing? Is it getting mashed against the...
It's right up against the
okay,
thing.
That's
So.
fine. Ooh. So anyone who watched my Red Sea Tank Aquascape video will know these pieces are all carefully glued together. Okay, can I see the toadstool? Alright, okay. Alright, what do we got left? Crabs in them, so we're gonna take those upstairs with us, so I'm gonna put them in with the clam that I'm acclimating. All right, I can see lots and lots and lots of vermetids and stuff. This is what I'm moving upstairs to the tank. We also caught the blood shrimp. So this happened yesterday. We were lucky enough to be able to catch the blood shrimp that was in the 150-gallon section of the sump. Here he is going into the main tank. I don't even know how old this guy is. I don't remember getting him. I think it's unlikely that it's the one that I got in 2017, but you know. And there he goes. He's found himself a new home. Was not expecting this to happen though. Immediately, the fish swam right up to him and presented themselves for cleaning. So we really enjoyed watching this go on for quite a while, and now they just go in there regularly. They argue a little bit sometimes about who gets to go in and who's next, but overall, I'm super happy to see this happening. There had been some flashing of the tangs on the sand, and whenever you see that, there's always that worry that something's wrong, but maybe they just needed a good cleaning. After careful acclimation, I also put the squamosa clam into the tank. I put it in front of the barnacles, kind of in an open area, so if it needed to move around, it would have some space. I hope it does well here. It's also a bonus that it's close enough to the glass that I can keep a close eye on it. I've had plenty of conch snails in the past, but I had no idea this is how they moved around. Although, I wonder if it's something to do with the gross, disgusting stuff on the sand, and he's just trying to avoid it as much as possible. Yeah, I don't know. I have a new vignette to show you. Check it out! So pleased with how this turned out. And it fits so perfectly in this spot. Here's a brief moment of appreciation for the heartbeat of this 600-gallon system. It's a pair of CG SDC 9.0 return pumps. I run them externally. Super pleased with them. I always get a big chuckle out of how Chunk the Blenny kind of slides in behind the algae clip so that he can get his bites in before the other fish can get at him to chase him away. Teeny tiny tentacles on this really small chalice frag. What have we here? Well, it's time to clean the gyres because we aren't sure, but we think the flow is reducing, and plus they're like covered with coralline. You can see it there. So we don't know what's going to happen when it's in the bucket. We're just going to hit the switch. We've got it set to the lowest setting, laminar flow, and let's see what happens. I got to be ready to drop this if we get massive splashes. Okay, go. Look at that. That is perfect. So what is that, 10%?
Yep.
That cleaning mode. Perfect. All right, gonna leave that cover on, and now we can walk away and let it run for a while. All right, there we are after one gyre cleaned. There's all the crud that came off of it. And then on this side, we've got the clear water that we used to rinse it. So it is back in the tank. I got this very large acclimation box from Reefing Art. It's 6 by 6 by 12. I believe it's the largest size they make. I will be moving some fish, and that's why I got this thing, thinking ahead so that I can introduce them to the big tank and the rambunctious fish, hopefully without any problems. There's a story behind this order, and it is a story of awesome customer service. Part of that story is going to be a giveaway. Yep, I have one of these things to give away which will happen on an upcoming live stream. Yes, I said live stream. I'm bringing them back in June, finally. More on that later in an upcoming video. Okay, got the clownfish. We used nets, 2 nets, and now we're just getting them acclimated to system water. They're looking good. Transfer into the acclimation box in the tank was uneventful, and here they are. I'm gonna leave them like this probably for a minimum of 24 hours. If I see any signs of aggression or too much interest by the other fish, I'll leave them a little bit longer. All right, it's time. There's the little fella.
Come on.
Take this down a bit more.
Little fish. What's he doing? What's he doing?
There she goes. You're free.
These fish going, what the hell are those? Haven't seen them before.
There she is. This is our whole home generator getting delivered. It has taken nearly a year to get to this point because of shortages of generators, shortages of tradespeople. Everyone is so busy, and we're finally getting it. Yeah. Once it's off the truck, these guys will take it down the side of the house and place it on the concrete pad that my husband built. Then we wait for the gas fitter to come and actually connect a generator to the gas meter. After that, it's the electrician and all of the permits associated with that and the hydro inspector to get that part of it hooked up so that it can actually run the house. You want a reasonably quick hookup because even though this thing weighs somewhere between 400 and 500 pounds, they are well known to be frequently stolen while they're awaiting installation. After waiting almost a year to get this thing, we sure did not want that to happen. Finishing touches. Just getting everything in position, ready to stick it on. And more finishing touches. I have some plants in here, low light plants. We're going to be installing a light under the stand just to give them supplemental grow light, because right now all they have is the window, and I'm hoping they will help somewhat with CO2. So I'm getting ready to put this up using hook and loop pads that are self-stick. It's very, very light, so they should work perfectly. Ta-da! Pars maris mea is Latin for my piece of the sea. Love it. We decided it wouldn't hurt to try siphoning the stuff on the sand just to see if we could get ahead of it a little bit. Well, we went through these filter socks to retain the water so we wouldn't be doing large water changes. And here's what they looked like after the first night. Looks like lots of stuff came out. And here is what it looks like to siphon the entire tank. 1 or 2 spots were unreachable. There are a lot of spots in this tank that I can see but not reach, and other spots that I can reach but not see. That's one of the things I'm finding out about this particular size of tank. So you can see what it looks like going over the entire sand bed lightly once. Hopefully we can get a little bit on top of this so it won't look so ugly. Well, this stuff has been around now on the sand, making it look ugly for well over a month, pretty close to 6 weeks now. and I am tired of waiting for it to just resolve itself. I've had it. So I'm resorting to what for me is desperate measures. From what I've read, lots of people do what I'm going to do with great success. A few issues here or there, but I suspect it has to do with perhaps not quite following the instructions. Cross your fingers for me. I guess we'll find out. It's recommended to keep the skimmer running during the ChemiClean treatment, so I trained one of the Wise cameras on it just to see how it was doing. And it was pretty much like this for 48 hours. I took the lid off to monitor what was going on in here, and a lot of this foam is from the skimmer, but some is also from an air bubbler. And while the ChemiClean treatment was underway, we decided to catch the Royal Grammas and acclimate them and move them upstairs into the tank.
He almost jumped out.
We got him! Looking for a way out? I move that lid, he will jump. There he is, Royal Gramma. In the acclimation box. Was not that hard to catch, but he's a jumper. Had a couple of close calls. And now we wait until we get the second one for this other half. And then hopefully they're not going to try and kill each other through the divider, because that does not bode well for letting them loose in the tank. Well, well, well. It appears the little guy got out. And I think I know how. There's a feeding bowl on the top of each half of this acclimation box. And though he spent the entire night in here, obviously sometime in the last couple hours he got out there. So that's the only way he could have got out. And now he's kind of familiarizing himself with this back corner. He looks fine. I don't see any sign of injury or scrapes or abrasions. So I guess what we're gonna have to do is move the acclimation box to the opposite side of the tank, and that's where we will put the other guy in. I'm super happy this guy is actually out and not hiding. The fish are interested. I did put some food in, did not see him eat. So what's going on here? Well, we are draining the 100-gallon to do a water change. ChemiClean says a 20% water change. We're gonna get pretty close with the 100 gallons that we have on tap over here. And in a couple of days, we might do another water change. We'll just see how it goes. They also say to run carbon. So I have 1 cup per 100 gallons of carbon in these bags. They're tethered above the tank. The carbon itself will be in the water once the water's back up to that black line. So right now we're just pumping it out, and then we're going to refill it from over there. It's isolated from the rest of the system, which is still running. Right, so we're back in business. Got the carbon under the water. This is filled up again. This is restored. So the full system is running. It took 45 minutes to do that water change. Now we just cross our fingers and hope we do not have cyano anymore. So it's within a couple of hours of 24 hours since we did the water change after the ChemiClean treatment. And look at this. Look at the sand. There is still some stuff in some places, but oh boy, I was really happy to see that we didn't have giant brown patches this afternoon because the lights have been on. So what that tells me is most of what was on here must have been cyano. And I think the little bits and pieces that are left, I'm hoping gonna go away. And if they don't, now that I've gone through it once and I've seen how good a job it does and there's no effect on anything, I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. Even back here, this was the absolute worst spot. Overall, I'm very pleased with the ChemiClean results. It's the final countdown. Next on the list is to get the 2 fish out of here. And the Coral Beauty is going into the observation tank to continue to grow and get fattened up. The Royal Grandma is going to go in the tank upstairs in the acclimation box. You'll notice how full this tank is. Oh yes, I moved all of the frags from the frag tank into here. I gave them all a really good cleaning because they were, quite frankly, disgusting with algae and just all kinds of horrible. We also have the aquachar in here because while we were doing the chemi-clean treatment, it had to be removed from the system. And it is not throwaway stuff. It still has a good 5 months of service. So I'm preserving it so that I can put it back in the big system once all the chemi-clean is out of there. There you go, little guy. See you in a couple of months when you're big and fat, and then we'll have fun trying to catch them. Okay, fishy. Time to be captured so we can go upstairs and put you in the tank. Okay. There is the second Royal Grandma. This time we put a big rock over top of the hole. I'm pretty sure that's how the other one got out, because it is big enough. So I gave him a little frag plug to sleep beside. And he's actively looking for ways out. The fish have been sort of, they've looked at him once or twice, but really not been interested. Yeah, this is the first Royal Grandma that went in. Sadly, appears to have perished. Very recently though. I did see him last night. Oh well. And here's something I never expected. This Royal Grandma has passed away. This is the one we just put in the acclimation box. I don't know what this is. Stress? Like maybe they just couldn't handle it. It's pretty upsetting. I've had these fish for a long time. All right, so here's a shock. This thing was perfectly healthy before the chemi-clean. This guy's looking like some skeleton is showing. This one too, I see slime. What is going on here? My plate corals don't look so hot either. This is looking way more white along the top than it used to. Oh boy, this is not good. The pectinias were looking stressed yesterday, but they're fluffing up a little bit now. Was it the bubbles? Maybe? Water's a bit hazy. This is really weird. I'm not liking this at all. Something is going on after the chemi-clean treatment. Got some corals that are not looking happy. You can see there's slime coming off of there. There's a few others that I'm concerned about. For example, right there. There's a chalice that's looking very skeletal. And the plate corals. Plate corals are not looking happy. That one looks like it's opening up now, but it was really concerning me before. And the other thing is I have 2 dead Royal Grandmas. I'm pretty upset about that because I've had them for a long time, been growing them out in separate tanks with the idea that they would live together in here. I don't know what's going on. Gorgonian's not out, but the lights just came on maybe 20 minutes ago, so I have to give it some time. Nemensophilia at the back, the fox coral, is not opening quite yet. And you can see the considerable haze on the water. I'm running a spin test right now, and we'll see if the parameters turn up anything strange. I'm concerned about high nitrate and phosphate, given the die-off and the fact that the skimmer's overflowing and not actually skimming. So we'll see what happens. And here are the test results. Nothing of concern is really showing up here. Alk is fine. Calcium, little low. Magnesium, a little low. I'll have to address that. There's always some ammonia showing. And phosphate and nitrate are exactly what they have been in previous tests. So this doesn't give me any information to help me figure it out. So last night was the water change and putting the carbon in. Check out this foam. Some of it is certainly being generated by the skimmer, but where's the rest of it coming from? Something in the water, obviously. Is this a natural part of the ChemiClean process? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is where all of the die-off is showing up. I don't know. At any rate, over here looks pretty good. That white area is something that happened to one of the plating corals. For some reason, the tissue has been receding for weeks now, so that I don't think is from the treatment. This Goniopora looks really stressed. It's about half white, so I'm not sure about that. Other than that, I don't really see any problems down here. So maybe some corals just had a poor reaction to the ChemiClean and they just kind of need to get through it. All right, so I raised the skimmer up by 2 slices of egg crate, so you can see the pump is a lot higher in the water. I still have room to go if I need to, but the cup is now taking about 10 minutes to fill instead of 10 seconds. So we're going to attach the drain to a 5-gallon bucket and drain out the liquid and hopefully retain the foam and hopefully get some skimming going in here, because I think that would help. You can see the foam really isn't accumulating anymore because this thing isn't constantly adding to it. So I don't know if that's going to help, but we'll give it a try. And over in the good news department, the gas fitter came and hooked the generator up to the gas meter. He did an awesome job, very neat and tidy. And now all that's left is for the electrical hookup. Really looking forward to that. Okay, so we're back in business after a second water change. And I have the skimmer, I think, adjusted. This is because look at the splashing, and it was actually coming out of the tank, so kind of a splash guard. So far so good. We have the drain in place going into this 5-gallon bucket. Whatever comes out into the bucket, we will kind of figure out how much it is, and we'll replace the salt water into the system because the salinity is a little low and I don't want it to get lower. And we're getting some foam, so that's good. Yeah, generator install day. Stressful. So we have all of the permissions and permits in place, and the electricians are here today to do the electrical hookup of the generator. This means pulling wires from one side of the house to the other through the ceiling, and there's only part of it that's finished, which is good. The power had to be completely shut off during this whole process. Turned out to be around 5 hours. So we got out the trusty portable gasoline generator, and that's what's running the pumps on the tank. And here's the finished installation on the generator side of the house. Another really professional job. On generator power, we only have the return pumps moving the water. I have to say I was pretty impressed by how much water flow there actually is through this system. The return nozzles were pushing the water all the way to the front, albeit not super hard, but at least the water was moving, and it seemed to be moving throughout the tank. And checking the flow in the basement in the sump area, I was also impressed with how the water was moving. This is all gravity fed, from the overflow down into the green trash can and then down into the rest of the various parts of the sump. And look at this, this is no power heads, nothing. This is only water flow through the drains. So I gotta say, I'm surprised and impressed with this because I really didn't expect this much water movement. So this is 48 hours after the chemi-clean treatment was completed with the water change. We have done another water change, and I've set the skimmer up again with the bucket. We filled the bucket in about 3 hours last night. So tonight I've tried to set it up so that it's a little better tuned so as not to overflow quite so much. I think it's pretty close to that now, so I'll check again in a few hours and just see where it is. If I feel like I can run it overnight, I will, and if not, I'll just shut it off. I prefer to keep it running to maintain the aeration, but I may not be able to do that. In the end, how did the chemi-clean treatment work? Well, I have to say, I'm super impressed with how things look. The sand is pristine, even along the back. Everywhere, it's clean, it's white, it's beautiful. I was very concerned about some of the corals, but I needn't have been because they've all bounced right back. Overall, I have to say, I would do it again if I felt I needed to. I hope I don't need to because it was a little bit of a pain in the neck to do all the carbon and the water changes and the skimmer and all of that. But in my opinion, it was worth it to achieve clean sand. I can only hope it stays that way. Today is Friday, May the 13th, and I'll leave this video here. Even though I have more I could put in, I think I've taken up enough of your time at this point. So if you enjoyed the video, why not give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to see the ongoing story here. There is a lot more to come. We're not done yet. We haven't even plugged in the UV sterilizer. Yep, that is still down there waiting to go. But now I need to get busy and empty that 150 because believe it or not, all these weeks later, it still has stuff in it that I need to move out. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, especially if you've hung in this long. And remember, live streams will return, and I'll be putting out a couple of videos to talk about that. Stay safe, everybody. See you next time.